and another splash. And this is Dorothy Wilhelm. This is swimming upstream. Now, I've got to tell you, in the olden days, I used to actually put on a tasteful bathing suit and swim. I don't do that anymore. But I'm here to tell you, I've got some exciting guests for you that you will never hear on the 6 o'clock news. Our whole idea with Swimming Upstream Radio and Coffee Chat and Change the World, which are our two shows, um, is that you'll meet people here that you would never meet on the 6 o'clock news. So that's what we're going to get started with. And today we have one of our regulars, one of our favorites. We kind of like her. Yes. Sandra Solon. Is it Solon or Sol? How would you say it?
Solon.
I see she knows how to pronounce it. It's okay. She is the Crafty Canadian. Now, I want to say, you don't like Canadian, do you?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, and I will tell you why. In front of I just forgot to tell you. There is another Crafty Canadian. So you may want to think about. She has her name at the beginning of it. So, and she's also up there in your area. So anyway, you may wonder why have I invited you here? Why do you think? Sandra,
We're going to talk about summer activities and how to have fun with your kids.
And your grown-up friends. I don't think we can limit this just to kids. So this is, I feel it only fair to tell you, the first show of a series of 4 we're going to be recording today. And the first one's always very rocky because I'm just getting used to being out in the world again. So Sandra, tell us a little bit about, first of all, what you had that big trip to India, which was very exciting. And for most people, that would do it right there. But you're going to be moving on, right?
We try to do 2 trips a year. And we were delayed 1 year going to India because I had a bit of breast cancer that is all gone and good. So we did catch up. We went to India in the spring, and then we'll be traveling the spring and the fall every year now. Well, we can.
If you can. That's a great idea. I should give as a little aside, the lawn people are out lawning loudly on this side of me, and somebody's doing some kind of work with a bandsaw on the other side of me. And we are just going to make our way through because there's no use hoping for them to stop. So, but we've thought now with summer coming, as we record this, we're going right toward the end of June. And we thought it might be fun to talk about some of the things that happen in summer, possibly the birds and bees, though I think not. And you've had some unusual visitors at your house.
We did. We had a whole nest of baby spiders, and they were, yeah. And you can see the group in the middle, but that's about half of them. They actually divided into a couple of groups, but they were very funny because every night they were all in little individual balls, and then in the morning you can see this is first thing in the morning, and they're all got their little groups. They were so cute. We kept that gate open. You can see all the spider webs. We kept that gate open. It's not our primary gate, but we kept that one open for a couple of weeks. And they moved around, and then during the day they'd kind of spread out and stretch their legs and make a few more webs. And then at night they would always come into these individual clumps again to sleep tightly together, I guess, safety in numbers. Yeah, so we had them for a couple of weeks, and then they just flew away. I thought that I'd see little baby spiders crawling everywhere, but they didn't. They went away on the wind with their little webs. And
like
they
parachute.
Yeah, but they kind of went on the breeze, and so some of them went right across the yard because that porch is about 4 or 5 feet up. Well, they're about the 5 or 6 foot mark where they were actually nesting. So the height, I think, helped them, and they just kind of let go, and away they went. Well, they will run into a few problems in my backyard because I have 2 or 3 bird feeders, and I have a couple of nests of sparrows and
With
starlings.
yeah.
So they will they'll feed the baby birds, I guess, some of them.
Well, but that's the way it goes. You had the fun of watching them. See, I didn't know they did that. I don't know what I thought they did, but I didn't know they did.
Yeah, well, they all start hanging on to the mom. So if you see a really big mother spider, all the babies are just kind of hanging on to her, and then she disappears somewhere and just leaves them to their own devices for a couple of weeks.
Does she come back?
I never saw the mother again. I never saw an adult spider.
I've been very tempted from time to time,
Yeah.
but now my kids are in their 60s and 70s, so there's no point going anywhere. Now, in honor of your spider visitors, we thought that today it would be fun to talk about things you can do in the summer that with little preparation and no money, right? Pretty much.
No, I don't like to spend money, um,
Except on trips.
except for on travel. But when you and I've got 3 granddaughters and 3 daughters, but if you start going and getting crafts for those people and their friends and the friends of friends, I usually have a group of 8 or 9 kids in the front yard, and they all want to do the same craft. So I try to think of things that I can afford to do. I have rolls of paper. I used to do house design. So I've got rolls and rolls of paper. And that one's a fun one for me just to watch it. And every child and worldwide, they all start with the same doodles. It doesn't matter if you're a Japanese kid or an African kid or a white kid. We all start with the little circles. We all start with the same doodles, which I found is really, really interesting across the board, that children will start with those same doodles. And then as they develop, and some don't, I mean, some stay on that doodle stage, and some start developing art. Yeah.
Well, tell about the rolls of paper. Where do we get them and what are they like and how much do they cost?
Well, they're a couple of dollars at the dollar store. And that'll give me a roll of paper that's about 3 feet wide and about 7 feet long. So that actually, I tape it on my dining room table or the picnic table if we happen to be outside, and then just let them draw. And a funny story, Dorothy. My husband and I went away when my daughters were teenagers, and we had the carpets ripped up. We were going to put hardwood floor down. So when the carpets were ripped up, I told the kids that were 17 and 15, and then our eldest daughter's a little bit older, and she came home for a bit while we were gone. And I told them they can take whatever felt pens or paint or whatever, and they could paint the subfloor of the house because the carpets were up before the hardwood went down. Oh, Dorothy, I can't even tell you what my daughters, which I thought were very cute little girls, what they wrote on those floors.
You're kidding.
Oh, there's all kinds of pictures, and there's murder scenes, and they did the body outlines, and they had their friends over, and we were gone for 5 days. And when we came home, they had decorated the whole subfloor, 3 bedrooms, living room, dining room, kitchen. The whole floor was just subfloor, and it's all still there. If anyone takes up our hardwood, they're going to see what teenage girls will come up with.
Well, did they draw on the rolled paper or what did they draw?
No, they drew right on the wood.
Oh,
right on the subfloor. Yeah.
So you can either have them draw right on the furniture or the wood or the whatever, or they can have rolls of paper and you can take it up afterwards.
The paper is where it's at. And I actually have one that my granddaughters did last year at Christmas, this last Christmas. And they're 3, 5, and 9 now. So they're more intricate drawings. And I kept that one. And I'm actually, because I can, I'm going to transfer some of those drawings onto T-shirts. And I'll put some of them maybe on placemats. Yeah.
I love the placemat idea because, T-shirts are a great idea, but you see that a lot. That's good.
Yeah.
But I haven't thought of the placemats. That's a great idea.
You can transfer, and of course, Amazon is a great source to do those things. They sell all the products, and you can put your own design in just by submitting photos and such. We did our tire cover for our RV. Now has a Kung Fu chicken on it.
Oh my, that's a great idea though, and the kids can pretty much do their darndest without adult supervision. You really, in summer, you want to look for things that are fun to do that you don't have to do a lot about.
Well, this is it. I like to set the kids up and leave them, because I truly believe in this day and age, they don't get enough downtime.
That's
They
right.
don't get enough of their own creativity time that they're not instructed to do something. So the longer that they can play on their own with the simplest of things, no tablets, no TVs, no music going, to get your creative juices going, you need to have that quiet time to develop.
Speaking of that, what about that little sticky fish that's hanging behind you?
I do. I have a little fish that it's just a bunch of branches. I'll just bring it forward here. And I found, of course, there's the one branch is the long spine. And then I've just got a ball of jute rope, and I just put on his ribs as you go, and then I found a little L corner for his face, and then of course the hook is just, I just made a piece of metal, and he hangs out on my porch. He's about 18 inches long, and everyone enjoys him. And of course, you can make more than a fish, right? If you get the right shapes of wood, you just let your imagination go nuts, and you don't need to know how to tie a knot. You can always do a glue gun. But little birds of leaves, and I've seen so many creative things that people make just with things that they find on the ground. And that's what I like doing. I like going for the things that are natural, and you can just play with the shapes that nature's already given you. Right?
Yeah.
I have some very creative kids, but I have also kids that aren't the least bit interested in picking up a crayon. But those are the ones that will scavenge. And you've always got to find what the kid wants to do in that group. As you know, you had many of your own children, how diverse they are. And you think, oh, well, one mother, one father, you're going to get the same kind of kids, but you don't. And they all have their own gifts.
The funny thing is, I thought that, when my first two were born just 13 months apart. Well, and I just imagined they were right alike, and I would raise them alike, and they would talk alike and think alike, and what is more, they'd hate each other very much, and that song. But anyway, when the third one came along, it became obvious to me that no, they're not all the same, and you're absolutely right. You have to find the thing that they will want to do that will make them excited and be their future gifts. The one thing that I have found out for sure is that they all know how to do something wonderful, but they won't be the same things. And they may not even care. One thing I tell about for summer, and I know I haven't given this one before, but I'm going to do it again anyway. If you have a decent sized yard or park area you can go to, and just divide it into grids of, say, a yard square. So each kid gets a yard. You too, why not? Then everybody looks at their lawn space or grass space and sees how many different things they can find. Different kinds of grass, different flowers, different garbage. Who knows?
Yeah.
And that's a lot of, we've had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah. And I like to mix it up a little bit sometimes, because one kid will take, the most interesting piece of grass and they'll find one thing.
Yeah.
And then the next kid has like a bare piece and he'll come back with a whole universe of things that he's found. So to combine those kids sometimes, and the worst thing for me ever when I was in school and in art was shared group projects, because there's always somebody that'll do more. Somebody's good idea gets shut down and such. So to combine them and to move them around a little bit, because the kids always go to the same kids.
Yeah.
So to mix that up and to kind of force, no, today you're going to be with your little cousin, and
try not to kill them,
and to interact with the different ages too. And it really brings out the best of the kids, I think, when they are, moved into different groups, and the bigger ones start looking after the little ones, and the little ones make the big ones laugh, so.
Well, what would you say, looking back, what have you found that you can depend on, that all of them will enjoy together, and you too?
Most of the time when it involves food, there's a pretty good chance that that they're going to come together at one point hungry. And that's where I like to do some foraging. And I used to have a neighbor that was very wise with the world of mushrooms. And unfortunately, she's no longer able to help me with that. So I don't do mushrooms by myself, but there's a lot of things that we can make tea out of. There's chamomile wild. And, I'm on the west coast of Canada. Every third thing in my yard is edible. And I really try it. Well, last week we planted peppers. We were having, and that was the only way I could get the little ones to eat the red peppers and the yellow peppers. And so I said, well, if you get enough seeds, we'll go out in the garden and plant them. So we went out and we planted these pepper seeds, and then I had them the next week. Well, I actually put the real peppers in the garden. They were very happy. All of a sudden they had and they think, because they're only 3 and 4, they actually think that they grew those peppers in the garden. But they're very excited, and they're trying different things. They were eating the arugula. They were eating the marjoram and the marigold flowers and all the things in my garden that they wouldn't normally have for a salad. But they're eating those greens and being curious about food.
I understand you do some carving too.
I have done a bit of carving. Yeah, I like to carve whatever I can stick a knife into.
Well,
I do a big celebration. We have a big Halloween thing up here that I do 30 or 40 pumpkins to carve for the city every year. But I also carve watermelons and oranges and everything that you would have in a campground. If you carve a little face on an apple and then put it in the microwave for a few minutes, you get a very interesting old person. I'll just put that out there, Dorothy.
I thank you. That's swell, Sandra.
They're quite fun to do, and it doesn't take very long to dry it out to make a very funny character. So everyone's going to be rushing to those old apples that you always throw away. Well, don't, because they're very fun to.
So now, we're just going. I don't know what it's like in Canada. God knows, but here it's going to be summer pretty soon. So, do you do those kinds of activities in the summer as well, or what? The watermelon? How do you carve the watermelon?
Exactly the same. Yeah, I just dig out the watermelon, and of course I always make a smoothie or something out of that. And then start carving. Yeah, I sorry I don't have a picture up, but the watermelon's very much the same density as a pumpkin. So
really? Well, now, do you empty it like a pumpkin then, or I was envisioning?
Yeah, I take all the fruit out, and like I said, I make watermelon juice or fruit or smoothies or something out of it. And the same with almost anything. Squash is quite fun. The summer squash or the spaghetti squash is a perfect shape for making a face or a head of a ghoul. And they act very much like the pumpkin.
Yeah. They act very much.
Well, they kind of they feel like a pumpkin when you're carving them. So if you think, oh, it's going to collapse or whatever, they're not. They're very sturdy fruits too.
Well, unbelievably, we've almost made our way through this lovely crafty discussion. But supposing summer starts and the kids, not only are the kids all here, they each brought a friend, and you kind of have a headache anyway, which is not being improved by the situation. What kind of an activity can you recommend that will allow you to get a little quiet rest and they'll have fun?
We do have water restrictions even here in Canada, but you're allowed to have like a playground. So we always set up a little water park for the kids. And it doesn't have to take, we've got 2 or 3 hoses with a couple of sprinklers. We have plastic bags that they can slide on. And that is for almost every single kid loves to come. And we have quite a big open yard on the corner lot. So all the kids in the neighborhood, we've been here for a long time. So the kids and the parents know us and quite well. So we kind of open our front yard to, water sports, or just put out the croquet set, bash around a few balls, and there's always a couple of dogs involved. So
what if you don't have a croquet set?
Well, Dorothy, the water park thing works, and I just throw whatever I can at them and shut the door very quickly.
Kind of open the door, throw out something, and keep going, right?
And keep going, like the balloons, and kids want to just have that creative time on their own too. They don't need, sometimes we do too much for them. If you leave them to their own devices, we always think, oh, well, kids now, it's all technical and everything, but it's not. They have their fun, basic instincts that.
And you don't want to be telling them they're doing it wrong.
I never go out, and you know what? In my garden, I have a lot of things that can be moved around. And I've done that intentionally. I have a lot of painted rocks that they could move around. I have my sticks and plants that they're allowed to pick and eat. They're allowed to discover the yard. It's not like, oh, well, you can't go there, or don't touch mommy's flowers or grandma's flowers. Everything in my yard is up for grabs.
Well, that's good to know. What's your address?
Actually, I had a church come by one time because they were making a memorial garden, and I had told them before, I have so many plants, come and take something. And they actually left bald spots in my garden. But within a couple of years, and I filled them back in, and they have the most beautiful memorial garden up at the United Church.
That was my phone, Jason.
No, that was mine. Sorry. But they have a wonderful memorial garden up at the United Church in Maple Ridge here, and all of that foliage and all the plants were donated from my garden.
Well, it has been, as always, wonderful to have you here. This is Sandra Solon.
Solon like colon.
Solon.
No, you won't forget that.
That's right. The Crafty Canadian, and she's here pretty much every month. Every once in a while, we let her go for, go somewhere and find out something new. But in general, she's here. And next month in August, end of summer, we'll see what you'd like to do. Sandra, thank you so much. If they want to get in touch with you, how would they do it?
I'm Crafty Canadian Studios at gmail.com. All one word. So Crafty Canadian Studios with an S at gmail.com. And I'm happy to send along any ideas or recipes and whatever. Yes. Thank you very much, Dorothy, for having me.
Well, it's always fun. And this is, as I always say, an SOB radio production. SOB stands for Spunky Old Broads. And all of our hosts and most of our guests are 50 or over. And we are now produced by Falls and Partners, and getting pretty good, I'd say. I wouldn't go away now because something good's going to happen. So we'll see you next time.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you so much.